For centuries, knowledge has been hidden in plain sight across the sands of time. Whispers of lost civilizations, cryptic symbols, and forbidden histories have been erased or concealed. What if the truth was never lost, but hidden? Welcome to Eye of Ancient Mysteries, where the past speaks and the future listens. Sit back, open your mind, and prepare to uncover the untold secrets of our world. Let the journey begin now. He who dies awakens to eternal life. Dr. Pirogov on the meaning of life and the afterlife. It cannot be assumed that in the entire universe the human brain is the only organ of thought, and that only in it some kind of self is manifested. These words belong not to a philosopher, but to the famous Dr. Nikolai Pirogov, after whom the legendary hospital in Sofia is named. Pirogov was a great surgeon and scientist who turned surgery into a science, became a pioneer in the use of anesthesia during operations, and was the first to apply plaster casts for the fixation of fractures. But the work of this devoted physician was not limited to medicine alone. Nikolai Pirogov was also an excellent teacher and left behind philosophical reflections about that realm which cannot be seen and cannot be touched with a scalpel. At the end of his life, Nikolai Pirogov reached an astonishing insight. For 3 years, 1879 to 1881, the scholar kept the diary of an old doctor. In the pages of this philosophical work, Pirogov contemplates the immortality of the soul, the existence of the higher world, and the cosmos as a living organism with which each of us is inseparably connected. The higher mind thinks with our brain. In his diary, Nikolai Pirogov writes that he understood an unknown secret of another state of matter, unlike the dense earthly substance. Pirogov called this matter an infinitely refined substance. The entire ocean of life is filled with this infinitely refined substance. It penetrates all atoms in the universe, infinitely grouping and breaking them apart, adapting them to various tasks of existence. This is how the scholar describes this other, higher state of matter, and this was in the late 19th century, when experimental science knew nothing of the kind. Nikolai Pirogov acknowledged the existence of a higher mind with which each one of us is connected. The scholar called this mind the Supreme Mind, which has some unclear, even to Pirogov himself, unearthly source, and this Supreme Mind thinks with our brain. This was Pirogov's conclusion. He believed that the ideas born in a person's head are not actually ours, but reach us from outside. Continuing his reflection, Pirogov writes that our brain, like the entire body, is merely an organ or repository of the higher mind. In the same way, works of art are repositories of an artist's thoughts. For the higher mind to manifest itself materially, to be grouped out of atoms, a device is necessary. This device is the human body, explains Nikolai Pirogov. The scholar believed that the higher mind communicates with us through our intuition, and therefore we must learn to listen to our inner voice and develop it. According to Pirogov, intuition told him that there exists in the universe a certain higher mind that speaks to us through our brain. we are given to understand only beyond the grave. A significant place in Pirogov's diary is devoted to reflections on faith. The scholar writes that his religious beliefs changed throughout his life. Browsing through the diary, one can see that Pirogov, during the development of his personality, was a skeptic in religious matters, although he was raised in a religious family. Later he became a doctor seeking faith. According to Pirogov, the most difficult thing for him as a doctor was to believe in the existence of an afterlife. The scholar considered life a cosmic phenomenon whose fullness man cannot understand due to his organic passions and attachments, as well as because of the material perception of existence. Nikolai Pirogov tried to find an answer to how our worldview changes in the afterlife. According to the scholar, he managed to sense this answer on an intuitive level. A person living in the world of dense matter has no ability to understand the truth. His perceptions open in the afterlife, where there is no dense matter that obstructs knowledge. What true life is and what its true purpose is, we are given to understand only beyond the grave, Pirogov believed. Pirogov's mummy is better preserved than Lenin's. The legendary surgeon was embalmed using his student's secret formula. The body of the legendary surgeon and participant in the Russo-Turkish War, 1877-1878, Nikolai Pirogov, was embalmed 40 years before that of Vladimir Ilyich Lenin. But the technology used preserved him far better than the leader of the proletariat, reveals Culturologia. Rue. Pirogov's mausoleum at the State, Nicholas the Wonder Worker church is located in the Ukrainian village of Vishnia in Vinnytsia region of western Ukraine. There the scholar spent the last years of his life and ran a free clinic. Pilgrimage until recently. People from all across Russia traveled to the church to venerate the remains of the medical luminary and seek his blessing. The Vinnytsia necropolis is unique in that there is no other place in the world where a body has been preserved in such a condition. Locals believe that the main reason lies in their collective prayers and the reverence they show to the deceased. In the mausoleum, it is not customary to speak. Services in the church are conducted very quietly, and pilgrims pray before the doctor's mummy as if before the relics of a saint. Providence. People believe that even during his lifetime Pirogov's hand was guided by divine providence. When Pirogov operated, the relatives would fall to their knees outside his office, says M. Yukolchuk from the National Pirogov Museum. And once during the Crimean War, soldiers carried to the field hospital the severed head and body of a comrade, saying, "Dr. Pirogov will sew them back on," something they clearly did not doubt. Pirogov performed over 10,000 surgeries and saved countless wounded during the Crimean and the Franco-Prussian Wars. He was the first in Russia to use ether anesthesia, antiseptics, and plaster casts. Bulgaria, although already of advanced age, the Russian Emperor Alexander II thought of Pirogov during the Russo-Turkish War. He summoned Pirogov as an unsurpassed surgeon and organizer for the needs of the front and gave him unlimited authority. In October 1877, Pirogov arrived in Gorna Studena. in the Pleven region, where the main Russian headquarters was located. He visited a total of 11 Russian wartime hospitals, 10 divisional infirmaries, and 3 pharmaceutical depots in 22 settlements. During this period, he treated and operated on many Bulgarians. In his honor, 26 obelisks, 3 rotundas, and a monument in Skobelev Park in Pleven have been erected. The most important emergency medical facility in Bulgaria bears his name. The secret embalming greatly interested Pirogov during his lifetime. According to one version, the doctor himself bequeathed that his body be embalmed, but this is likely untrue. The doctor died from cancer of the upper jaw, knowing his diagnosis and the agonizing premature death that awaited him. Nevertheless, no such will has been found. It was his widow, Alexandra Antonovna, who decided that his body should be embalmed for posterity. She petitioned the Holy Synod of the Russian Orthodox Church, and after receiving permission, sought help from her husband's student David Vivodtsev, who had authored a scientific work on the problems of embalming. Later, scientists repeatedly attempted to uncover the secret of the embalming of Pirogov's body, but never reached a consensus on the formula used. To this day, the exact recipe of Vivodtsev, who succeeded in preserving Pirogov's body incorrupt for so many years, remains unknown. It is known that he used alcohol, thymol, glycerin, and distilled water. The method is also notable because only a few incisions were made during the procedure, and some internal organs, the brain and the heart, remained in Pirogov's body, whereas in ancient Egypt these parts were removed first according to a strict order and procedure. Another factor may have been that there was no excess fat left in the surgeon's body, as he had become very emaciated before death, explains Prof. G. Kostyuk from the Venezia National Medical University. Bandits even more remarkable is the fact that the mummy survived to this day despite the revolutionary turmoil of the first half of the 20th century. When it was completely forgotten, in the 1930s bandits broke into the hermetic coffin to steal Pirogov's Orthodox cross and sword. The microclimate was disrupted, and when a special commission examined the mummy in 1945, it concluded that the chances of preserving it were close to zero. Even so, the Moscow, London laboratory undertook embalming, which took about 5 months. Since then, the procedure has been carried out every 5 to 7 years. According to specialists, thanks to Vivodtsev's initial work, Pirogov's mummy is in better condition than Lenin's. 100 corpses for laboratory experiments. The Lenin laboratory on Krasin Street in Moscow still keeps about 100 anonymous mummies for experiments and research. Embalmed in the 1940s, reports Moskovskaya Novosti. It was on these bodies that new methods and solutions were tested. Most of the deceased had no relatives, but there were also bodies of German POWs from the First and later the Second World War. In this way, various techniques were developed, which is why Lenin was embalmed in one manner and Stalin in another. The principles of embalming were known as far back as ancient Egypt, Tibet, and the Andes. The first step is disinfection of the body and manipulation of the face so that the deceased appears peacefully asleep. Modern embalming techniques include injecting various chemical solutions into the arterial system of the corpse to prevent decomposition. Today, formalin is used primarily. The body is massaged to relax rigor mortis and to allow the formalin to reach all tissues. Afterwards, the abdominal cavity is opened and emptied completely. Finally, all bodily fluids are removed from the body using an aspirator.